I think we've put that one to bed. So let's go. Let's wrap it up with the movie review. And this week, continuing in the theme of dystopia, we watched the Terminator, the first one, the original 1984 Terminator, directed by James Cameron, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Michael Biehn. Behan or Bean? I forget.
I always forget who played Kyle Reese.
Yeah, that's Michael Biehn or Behan. Behan?
Something like that.
Something like that. Anyways, if you guys don't know, I mean, it's a sci-fi classic. Everyone should know what the story is about. But if you don't, the story is about a young woman who will give birth to basically the savior of mankind. When the machines decide to end up taking over the world, they deem humanity as a threat, and not just Americans or Russians, but all of humanity as a threat. And so they proceed in a nuclear genocide, nuclear holocaust. And Sarah Connor's son becomes a unifier, a leader within the resistance, and he's the one that leads humanity to victory over the machines. But in a last-ditch effort to win the war, the machines develop a time machine and send an execution unit, a Terminator, to kill Sarah Connor before she can have before she can give birth to John Connor. And the resistance, they in turn send a protector to watch over Sarah Connor and make sure that she gives birth to the future savior, John Connor.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yes, it is. Yes, and
Now,
FYI to you jerk faces out there, this is Robert's first time watching it too.
I've seen.
So I want as many roasts as possible in those comment sections. I want you to light them up.
I've watched every Terminator film but the first one.
Exactly. That's why you have to light them up.
I got some bad advice, movie advice back in the a number of years ago. And see, here's the thing. It's like they made it out to be like Mad Max and like how awful the first movie of that series was.
Are you freaking kidding me? Who are these retards that you spend your time with?
That's how the Terminator was presented to me. It was like it's terrible. It's not that good.
They're merely talking about like the effects. That's bullshit.
And you can tell, like, okay, yeah.
Because understandably, yeah, like the special effects did not age well.
True, I admit that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I was both like really excited to watch this movie. Like while I was watching, it's like, God damn, this is good. And then at the same time, I was fucking furious that I had like, how have I not watched this? And I was so mad.
Yeah.
And yeah, I on bad advice, I foolishly did not watch the first Terminator. And it makes everything in the rest of the series make so much more sense. God, I can't believe it was that dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's why you viewer must roast Robert now. Go on. Pause. If you guys are watching this later, pause, and go roast him in the comment section.
I deservedly so.
Okay. All right. So yeah. What were some of the things that you liked?
I think the soundtrack is pretty awesome.
Definitely.
the what I liked about it too, you kind of like how because it's kind of like half a dystopian film and kind of like half in well modern times about like
Right.
now it's like 30 some years ago, uh, but the fact that you kind of like you kind of get the beginning of like how so I'm trying to think of like okay, if we're looking at the time frame, right?
Hmm.
So like Terminator Salvation technically would be the first film in this series because at the end of that that was when they sent the or when they were making the Terminator units, which the old like that we see in the first film.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you were saying. Yes. So yes, Terminator technically in this like to start with the dystopia. Yes, Terminator Salvation would be the first one, and then it'd be Genesis, and then it'd
Okay,
be number one. No. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, no, Salvation, and then the original Terminator, and then two, three, and then Genesis.
yeah,
That would be the technically the proper order to watch this movie
right,
or to watch
and
these this franchise.
yeah. So I like I kind of like seeing how it's kind of like you find out obviously that like who John Connor's father is like it's Kyle Reese.
Hmm.
It's kind of like how Sarah Connor became Sarah Connor, uh, and uh, just the fact that where in this one, uh, the Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger is the bad guy. Which is
Right.
it's I think it's the only one where he's the bad guy, and we obviously in the later films we figure out like uh, oh, crap, what was I gonna say? But anyways, like so you kind of like have that like it's this nearly unstoppable killing machine that they're the only goal is to destroy Sarah Connor, and
Hmm.
you get some of the great lines like "I'll be back,"
Hmm.
and then he like crashes through the police station and nearly
Right.
pretty much kills everybody there.
But when Kyle Reese is describing the Terminator for the first time to Sarah Connor, don't isn't that like this, I don't know about you, but it always sends a chill, down my spine. He's like talking
Yeah,
about this machine. It's like it can't be bargained with, and it has no remorse. It shows no pity. It's just like that. That is so terrifying. Especially when when you're the one, when you're the target. And you hear that when you hear that description of the Terminator, it's like, oh, geez.
yeah. That if if you're buying into like it's like if you fully envelop yourself in the story and like you put yourself in that world, that has to be the most horrifying thing. It's like yeah,
Exactly.
it's powerful, it won't be stopped, can't be reasoned with, has no remorse or morals. Its only focus is on killing you. And if
Mhm.
it has to kill 30 people to get to you, it's gonna do it. That's fucking terrifying.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna oh wait, I'm gonna ask you a quick question, Andy. Why
Okay.
is it that every dystopian film like why is it that all the cities are fucking wet?
Right. There's always like a dripping, or there's like pools of like standing water. I
It's
don't know.
fucking wet everywhere. Every dystopian film that I've ever seen, it's fucking wet.
Well,
Why?
I know why technically they do it because it looks better on camera.
Okay.
Yeah, because like even in the first Alien, The setting is a spaceship. But if you look at the inside of the spaceship, it's shiny and wet. Why is that? Because the answer is because it looks good on camera. I don't know. It
Is
somehow
that the movie?
gives it more of an atmosphere, maybe like dread or this foreboding terror.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, aesthetically, it's like, oh, yo, you kind of put you there, but
Yeah, but I mean,
there's
I get what you mean. I get what you mean because like if you watch any kind of like movie or TV show and especially they're like outside but like the ground is wet but then it's a clear sky and it doesn't look like it's cold or raining. It's like, well, why is the ground wet? Like, just know that's more of an aesthetic thing than it is like a story thing.
all right, all right. So, well, yeah. Hey, I learned.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like why? It's like how? It's like why? Is it just because like because especially like the flashbacks that they do of of 2029 and like so they're underground and like maybe it rains occasionally and so because like they're underneath underground and like maybe they're underneath like these old dilapidated buildings, the water kind of like seeps in.
Yeah, but
So maybe that's one of the
no,
reasons.
it was. Yeah, it's like I don't know, but it's
Right.
but man, this the film was it was good. I'm so glad that I finally saw it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for the time, I think it was very original, and it has a very unique mythology.
Yeah,
And
it really does.
because it's like, well, because I mean, the concept of robots taking over, the machines taking over, isn't exactly a new idea. I mean, there's the tradition that goes all the way back to like the
Hell,
third,
Metropolis.
yeah, Metropolis. Exactly. That's what I was thinking of. The movie Metropolis. But I think James Cameron came and took it and like gave it a nice little spin to it with the like the whole time travel and and machines trying to prevent their own destruction and going back in time to kill like the leader of the resistance before they're even born.
Yeah,
But it's also like this
but yeah,
weird.
like that part of it's very different. Um,
Right.
but I'd say overall, uh, I love the Terminator. I'm glad I finally saw the first one. It not that like I didn't understand the rest of the series, but it helps. It kind of puts an anchor for the entire rest of the Terminator series, and yeah, I'm glad I finally saw it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, watching something from the beginning is always helpful. Just to get a good proper context and to understand the rules of like the universe. Uh, Admittedly, I watched Two Towers before I watched the Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring, and
Oh man,
I was still able to enjoy Two Towers. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, but then when I went back and I watched Fellowship of the Ring, I was like, oh, okay. Everything started like all like the all the little pieces started kind of like Tetris. All the pieces started fitting in the right way. It's like, oh, okay.
right. And that's why I'm always a fan of like watching stuff in order, just
Mhm.
because like even if like uh most notably like because I've watched a couple times now watched through the Mission Impossible like series,
Mhm.
and although like like number two is terrible, but it does like but all the movies except for number two, number you could probably skip number two. Let's be honest. But all like the rest of the films, like
Yeah.
they play into each other, and so it's important to watch them all.
Right. Well, I
And
think
same thing with like the Terminator series. I think it's important to watch them all like in order, because then it kind of provides like this universe where you get involved, and it and yeah, I love it. It's great.
I think um, I think what James Cameron does well is, I think he does strong female characters really well.
Yes, he does. Yes,
You
he
know,
does.
because in the beginning, Sarah Connor is kind of like this typical, uh, this kind of typical 80s girl, and then all of a sudden she finds out that she's going to be the mother of the savior, of humanity. And by the end, like, she kind of toughens up, and like, I think she delivers like the greatest, kind of one-liner, you know, uh, um, in movie history is, you're terminated, motherfucker,
Yeah, that was a good one.
right?
See, the thing is, like, what I like about this is that she's a character, she's a female, she's a strong character, but she's also still feminine. Like
Yes,
she's not an over the top ridiculous, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass kind of female character. It's like, no,
I
that's not what she is.
yeah, it's because the important thing is she's not a woman pretending to be a man.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's all it is. And I think the same thing for Ripley, because that's when he Aliens, the sequel to the first one, which was done by James Cameron. Ellen Ripley, it's the same thing. She was a strong character who also happened to be a woman, and she didn't like. And I think some of the greatest moments in Aliens was when like was having the interactions with that kid. I forget what the kid's name was, but it was like those kind of quieter, like almost maternal moments that she has with this kid. Is when she displays like uh, her strength even more.
Right. And like I said, I think that's kind of, yeah, that's part of what I liked about it, because it wasn't like, oh, it's a woman. Like, why do I have to watch this crap? It's like, no, she's always a woman,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, but she's still like, she starts off as like kind of like the typical like dumb like young person, but then
Yeah, I mean she
she
goes on
becomes like
the
a
hero's journey.
she becomes like a mature character, and we grow along with her through this horrible ordeal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And even though like she kind of is told what's going to happen in the future, she kind of like we still don't, if you've just watched the Terminator, not any of the sequels, like you don't know how like the rest of it. She's kind of like, she believes it, but she's kind of like going on like she doesn't know she still doesn't know fully what's going to happen, so she's like preparing for this future that who knows, like maybe she finds a way to like put an end to it.
Right, and I think yeah, and I think well, not to be like dumping, but I think if Kyle Reese, because in Terminator 2, she kind of goes crazy because like she can't deal with the fact that her kid is like the going to be the savior of humanity, and so she like kind of like almost disconnects, and she then kind of takes on more like masculine energy, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I think I don't know. I'm probably sure that it wasn't James Cameron's intention, but I think Terminator 2 is, shows you what happens when you don't have, a father figure. And
Right.
because the mother goes insane because she is burdened by this knowledge, uh, that her son is going to do something, important and big. But instead of, and I think that's like the dream that she has, in Terminator 2, where she had, she kind of sees herself in the life that she could have had, where she could have just been a mother, and just dote over her son. But the looming apocalypse, you know, um, the looming apocalypse, robs her of that, opportunity.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. And so I think if anything, Terminator 2 is a case for why you need, a father figure, or why you need the father in part of the child's life. Because then Sarah could just been loving, and then the father could have taken on the burden of preparing, uh, John, for his, impending, responsibilities.
yeah. It's that and see that's the great part about this series is
Mm-hmm.
that it provides a lot of this social commentary kind of you have to wrestle with a lot of different ideas and
Mm-hmm.
it's on top of it being like kind of a pretty awesome action film and I like the idea that not because I don't like Arnold Schwarzenegger but like it's kind of like having him being not too vocal and so it's just kind of this like cold dead
Right, right.
machine relentless
I
machine coming at you.
Yeah, and I thought, yeah, and partially that had to do with his, his really thick Austrian accent. But I think just like the characterization of him not speaking, or speaking robotically, was absolutely perfect for this
And
character.
I think and I like and I kind of harken this back to some of my favorite films, like the Universal monster films, where you have Boris Karloff as Frankenstein, who did not talk. Like there was really no dialogue, and but you still like you feel his performance through his like face and his actions and how his camera presence, and that's exactly what Arnold Schwarzenegger was in this film. His acting was done through his physical presence and his uh like facial expressions and everything that he did in the film, and it played perfectly.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Couldn't agree
and
more.
and that's one of the few modernish films that I've seen that done in.
I think you might be right. I mean, right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of another one. Well, I'm probably sure. I'm fairly certain that there are other, performances like that, uh, in modern movies, but
I'm not saying like that's the only one I can come that I can think to mind because
right,
that's
it's still fresh
exactly
because we
what I
just saw
thought
it.
of. Yeah, that's the. But when I look at Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, I think I thought of like, oh man, Boris Karloff in Frankenstein. This it's kind of like a similar style of acting, which is great.
Hmm. Okay.
And even though like Arnold, maybe like yeah, his English probably wasn't the greatest at that point, but the fact that like he was able to still put on that performance, I think shows that he is a good actor.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think, yeah, I mean, he definitely, yeah, his performance, I think, definitely, does get refined in the second one, but, yeah, for being what it was, being the first in a franchise. I think yeah, it was really good. So all right, let's get to our ratings. Rob, what do you give this movie?
I'm gonna go 4 stars.
4 stars. All right,
Yeah.
4 stars.
Soundtrack is good. I loved. I like just for the reason one of the reasons I mentioned. I liked Arnold's acting performance.
Mhm.
Linda Hamilton was great. Like I liked Sarah Connor's the journey that we go on with her. Kyle Reese was a great character. Um, Acting performances were good all around, and yeah, I'm can't believe I haven't seen this movie until now. But yeah, 4 stars.
All right. Well, I'm giving it a 4.5, just because it's so tied to like my childhood. Um, it's funny because I remember. I mean, I can't remember it completely, but I do remember I do remember bits of it, like from when I was very young, and my cousins, got it on, VHS. And again, they're supposed to be watching me, but they're watching the Terminator instead. Similar story to Full Metal Jacket. My especially my guy cousins, they're supposed to be watching me, but then they got they rented Full Metal Jacket and just had me had me at 3 years old watch that movie.
Oh man, that's not the best film to watch at 3 years
Yeah,
old.
and it's crazy because I think it's like one of my earliest memories.
Oh man, Full Metal Jacket. Great
Especially
movie.
at the end of training when Gomer Pyle kills Hartman and then offs himself.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that scene. It's like deeply ingrained in my psyche.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, well there you have it. That's our movie review for the Terminator. Robert gives it a 4. I give it a 4.5. Definitely a movie you should watch. Um, but
Don't be like me.
after the second one, do whatever you want. But yeah, 1 and 2, I think are the only movies that you need to watch. And then the other movies are you can if you want.